Warframe is a free-to-play cooperative third-person looter-shooter developed by Digital Extremes. This game is a gem in today's gaming industry of greed and milking the consumer with its extremely fair free-to-play model. There's definitely some grinding involved, but it's the fact that Digital Extremes allows you to obtain just about everything in the game actually in the game. So hats off to the developers for creating something you can tell they truly love and care about, and not becoming what some companies have become recently. The combat in this game is very solid. It is crisp, responsive, and most importantly, it's fun. There's a pretty decent amount of playstyles involved as well. Grenade launchers, LMG-style weapons, shotguns, tons of different sidearms, and melee weapons. It's also an option if you're one of those people, if you want to main a melee weapon. Because of the movement system that is involved, you're not at risk as much. You can get out of tight spots fairly easy, and doesn't suffer from the issues that a lot of other melee-style weapons would suffer from because of the movement. And that brings me to the next point, that is movement. The movement's super fluid and smooth. It's amazing. It's a huge part of the game, being able to run on walls, bullet jumping, and combining your different movement techniques to get around the maps crazy fast. It's very, very fast paced, but it's not clunky, which it very easily could have been. The developers could have made it a little more obvious that that's how you're supposed to move around in the tutorial part of the game, but there's plenty of guides, and the community is very helpful when it comes to getting new players into the game, if that makes sense. But that's a big part of why Melee works, is because of the movement system. But don't let that take away from how incredible the movement system is, because it is leagues ahead of some games that have tried to replicate the same thing. I also want to make a quick touch on the updates that the developers put out. I can't comment on the updates that came before I really dove in, which was shortly after the Plains of Eidolon was released. I'd played a few years back, but like most, they probably just stopped, and I jumped back in fairly recently. Plains of Eidolon was a pretty large update, not just for a free-to-play game, but any game, really. It brought a whole brand new zone, a new city/social space, weapon crafting, fishing, mining, and so much more. And it was a completely free expansion. That is huge. Like I said, today that doesn't happen often. I personally loved the direction they went in with the Plains of Eidolon, with the more open world, free roam style. And I hope there's more like that in the future. The tile sets aren't bad, but I do like the open world to break it up and make it a little less repetitive. They also put out hotfixes all the time to adjust or fix things that have come up with the previous updates. So another commending of the devs on their quality and quantity of the updates that are put out. Another huge part of the game is how complex it is. It's not dumbed down like a lot of games are these days. I spent a lot of time looking up different things like materials, where they come from, how to get them, because that kind of stuff is not openly told to you, and they're not just thrown at you like some games do now. It's a very nice change from the shallowness of other things. The main thing for complexity, though, for me, is the mod system. There's a large and varying amount of mods for all the different weapons. There's even weapon-specific mods you can get later on that all interact with each other in different ways. There's different burn types, if you want to call them that will work differently if they're slotted next to each other, that will affect different enemies in different ways. There's a crazy learning curve to the modding system, but it's not so much so that it's going to take you, years to figure it out. There's also different raw damage, like slash, puncture, and impact, which are more important on certain weapons, less important on others. So modding for the right stuff is an important thing in the game. Like I said, there's a huge learning curve to this kind of stuff, but again, there's plenty of awesome creators out there that put out stuff that will help you. It's a very nice change from games like Destiny 2, which, turned out to be very shallow in its customization, so this is a very welcome change. So there's a reason people call this game Fashion Frame. Even from the beginning, right out of the first mission you play, you can customize just about every single color on your frame, your weapon, your pet or companion, even your ship interior and exterior. As someone who loves to customize their characters, that's huge for me, and I loved every bit of the customization. There's armor pieces for your legs, your arms, your chest, even a large amount of cloaks, or as they're called, cyandanas, or however you would like to pronounce that, for your back. Most of the frames have a few different helmets you could choose from. You can also place decorations anywhere and everywhere on your ship that you would like. So that's a nice change from the more hook-based system that some other games use. They've also added a personal quarters. I haven't unlocked it yet because I have yet to figure out how. That has customizable like fish tanks, battle scenes, Warframe displays, and all that kind of stuff. You can also invite your friends on your ship now to see the customizing that you've done, which I don't believe you could do before, so that's cool. A lot of those decorations are bought with the premium currency, which is unfortunate, but that leads me to my next point. With it being a free-to-play title, the devs have to make money somehow. Of course, there's a premium currency, but the players can trade it, which is massive. And that's what makes it work and not feel intrusive whatsoever. Even newer players have access to things they could sell pretty early on to make some of that premium currency to get, some Warframe slots or weapon slots or cosmetics or whatever it is they want. You can make a decent amount of it. I still have yet to make, a notable size of it, I guess, but I've been able to buy some of the cosmetics I've wanted. I've been able to buy my slots as I need them, so it is not an issue. It's not intrusive. It is not in any way, shape, or form pay to win. It's more like pay to speed things up, kind of. So I guess pay for convenience, if you want to call it that. But it's not even close to being an issue for the game, and that's another thing the devs, it is incredible that they did, because they very easily could have made it horrible. So that's awesome. Warframe is a fantastic game with loads of content. I didn't even touch on the 30 or so something frames, the raids, world bosses, Arcwing, but we would be here all day. I know this is not, your typical quote-unquote review, but I just wanted to put my thoughts that I've had being a new player out there. Sure, the game has its issues. It gets repetitive, I know, but if especially if it's not your main game that you're playing all the time or every single day, it's not that bad, honestly. I think the game has enough diversity in items for the repetitiveness to not matter too much, because you're always doing something different. If it's kind of contradictory, but you get what I mean. It also has a PvP, but it's not, that great. I haven't really even touched it. I think I played it like half a time. But with that being said, if you haven't tried out Warframe, please do. The small dev team deserves all the good they can get. They haven't sold out. They really care about their product. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and that's it. See ya. The power of the dark side.